there. We were trying to see if Clark County was possibly out of that rotation, and it looks like it is really transitioning further into Lee County, and the radar velocity is showing a little bit of a tighter spin there. So that means if you are in the path of this storm, while we don't have anything on the ground confirmed, we still need you to be in your safe place because the radar is showing that we have that rotation there. And this storm right now is kind of just off towards the south, the Donaldson, the north of Argyle. So it may be in a little more of a rural area. It may not be directly over a town per se, but we are continuing to watch this on the radar, and that's why we're kind of concerned with it. Another reminder that we have the torrential downpours with this, and then we also have frequent lightning and thunder. So you want to be inside for this, definitely in that safe place, whether it's a basement, a hallway, a closet, even a bathroom. That can be a pretty safe place to go to. And then this tornado warning is going to be in effect for another 44 minutes as it's going to be running until 5:45. This storm is moving off towards the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So it's not moving slowly, but it's not moving too quick either. Some of the first storms that blasted through were moving 65 to 70 miles per hour. But this is definitely more of a slow mover. So when we kind of try to pace it to see how it could impact some of the areas, we're looking at it to be possibly around New Boston by about 5:02, Fort Madison 5:18, and then we have Dallas City 5:29, Burlington about 5:42, and at that point, of course, it is outside of the viewing area. But just to kind of give you guys a heads up in case you know anybody up that way. But a friendly reminder that here at WGEM, we stay on air as long as the tornado warning is active. I know that's not impacting everyone in the tri-states, but we want to make sure that everybody in the path of this storm first of all, just remains calm, but also just has the information needed as it passes overhead. If you have the app, whether it's the news app, if you download the free WGEM First Alert Weather app, which you can do by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now, that can give you information even as you head off to the closet. Or sometimes I have heard before, if your TV's on, I've heard of people blasting the volume so that way by the time they get in the basement or maybe they're in the closet, they can still hear the TV as long as they have power. Because with a situation like this, it is possible that we could end up with some power outages, whether that's from a tornado that's on the ground or just from the winds kind of knocking trees down or tree limbs down, power lines down. We've had a little bit of some reports already with this system. I'm not sure, Jesse or Kyle, if you had those reports. I thought you said something about a barn.
We also just got a report that there has been some damage to farm buildings in the Houghton area, and then yes, sheds blown over in Granger. That was reported by the Clark County Sheriff's Department, and then some hail reports there in northeast Missouri, especially Wauconda area.
All right, so these storms have been what we would almost say verifying. The National Weather Service puts out warnings based off what the radar is showing, and then we look for ground truth. We look for verification from certified storm spotters, emergency managers, police officers, and that's what we're getting in. So we have had reports of hail confirmed with this. We've had that report of the tornado earlier in the far northern portions of Lee County. With this tornado warning, we don't have it confirmed, but we do just continue to track it on our radar, and the couplet that the velocity is showing is still there. So that's why we're going to continue to follow this warning as long as it is live. And right now, it is just off towards the southeast of Donaldson. It'll kind of move to the southeast of Franklin too, and so we'll have to watch that as it kind of scoots near that area. I would say if you're in West Point, you need to probably go ahead and be in your safe place because it could kind of scoot right past you, so you'll want to keep that in mind. Otherwise, we'll have to watch if this continues to move further off towards the more eastward direction. Kyle?
Yeah, so I just have another update. It looks like as though the strongest rotation with this further south supercell within this tornado warning is now moving out of northeast Missouri, out of Clark County, and now into Lee County, Iowa. But I have also seen there's a trajectory on this one app I'm finding here. Unfortunately, it does take this particularly further south supercell to track very close, if not make a direct hit in Fort Madison. Of course, this is just radar indicated. Nothing is reported for a tornado or funnel cloud, but of course that could change over the next 10 to 30 minutes. We are keeping a very close eye on this developing situation as this is moving through a, quote, very favorable environment. The tornado that had just left our viewing area north of Houghton, it has been reported and seen as a significant tornado. And unfortunately, that is on the table for both of these supercells, both right now, either moving into or moving through Lee County, Iowa. But again, I just want to put that out there, Whitney, as this continues to move through the northern tier of the tri-states. Again, this tornado warning is in effect through 5:45 this evening. And as Jesse earlier mentioned, this line of storms is starting to take a bit more of a right turn or a bit south of due east. So there is a chance that this continues to skirt our far northern counties, not just Lee and Hancock County, but unfortunately possibly portions of far northern McDonough over the next, say, hour and a half thereafter.
And not just Fort Madison, I mean, it's the largest city in our viewing area that's in the path, but also Nauvoo. If you're in West Point, Nyota, Sawyer, Paul Miller Park, between now and about 5, you got about 5 minutes, and that rotation's going to be on you. And then continuing off to the east northeast, I'm also talking about Dallas City, Denmark, Pontusic, Augusta, Weaver. And then after that, we start getting out of the viewing area more into Des Moines County because the Burlington area is going to be in the threat too. But over the next 10 to 15 minutes, those areas are in the path as well. And then we're getting some reports in the Fort Madison area. Gary Shank sent me a message there over in Hancock County that it's looking green. That tells me that hail core is approaching the Fort Madison area as well. So if you're in the Fort Madison area, definitely, or any of these other communities, again, Nauvoo, West Point, Nyota, Sawyer, Paul Miller Park, Dallas City, Denmark, Pontusic, all of you should be in your tornado shelter right now. We're not getting any confirmation that anything's on the ground, but this could produce a tornado at any time. And this couplet, looking at the southern end of the cell, this couplet's really strengthened. So this would right now be in southern Lee County, probably maybe 3 or 4 miles south of the Argyle area, moving up towards Summitville and Montrose. And then eventually that's going to move up into the Nauvoo and Fort Madison area as it moves northeast, and then clip northwestern Hancock County there, maybe over into the Dallas City area, eventually Lomax, maybe clip the just south of Weaver or close to Weaver. So communities in those areas, this is still showing pretty good rotation, even though nothing's on the ground yet. This could produce a tornado at any time.
I'm also keeping a very close eye on the part of this storm that is now close towards Argyle. Not necessarily maybe seeing a lot of rotation with it, but it is really showing some significant hail potential. So if you are in Argyle, you're still under the tornado warning, but for you, I would say my concern right now is very large hail. That's still part of this system, and right now with the tornado warning, the hail that could be possible with this system would be $half size. So that would be, trying to find if we have it on here.
Maybe around ping pong ball size?
Yeah, we have quarter, we have ping pong, we have golf ball. So that is pretty large. It can do damage to cars, roofs, trees, siding. So that would be pretty significant with that storm, but that is what I'm looking at right now. So if you're in Argyle, you may be potentially hearing that pretty soon or seeing that, and then we'll just continue to watch the possible rotation developing for that storm that's just to the north of it that we've been watching at getting close towards places like Donaldson. Right now it's just to the east of Donaldson, just to the east of Franklin, but if you're in Franklin, if you're in West Point, you definitely kind of need to be in your safe place right now. And then we will continue to watch that little storm on the very far tip of this system. It's probably trying to steal away some of the energy from the storm to the north of it. So that's why it's starting to intensify a little bit, but that's something I want to watch over the next little while, along with the fact that with much of the area still actually getting some sunshine, the storms can feed off of that and develop quickly in an environment like this. So we've been watching this storm. Originally, it was a little bit closer towards places like Macon. Now it's starting to move closer towards Knox County. And then you even see a little bit of some rain developing even out behind that. So the tornado watch that's in effect for everyone until 8 o'clock tonight is definitely still warranted. And even if you're not seeing a storm right now, you may a little later on. The first round of storms earlier this afternoon had multiple severe thunderstorm warnings on them. They were very numerous. They were moving rapidly, 60, 70 miles per hour. These are definitely more what we would call isolated, extremely hit or miss, but definitely still able to really get going in an environment like this. So as long as we have our active tornado warning in place, we will stay with you on the air. And that warning right now is still for portions of Scott County, or excuse me, Clark County. But if you're in Clark County, I'm really not worried about you. So if you're in Clark County, you can stand down, but I'm still keeping close attention onto places like Argyle, and then also still looking at that rotation, which would be just to the east, the southeast of Franklin, and then it will be moving very close to West Point too. So that's something that we want to be watching very closely. Part of the reason why this warning may be so expansive, besides the fact that it's kind of trying to turn right, is that far southern storm. It is going to move a little bit further off towards the south into portions of southern Lee County. And so they're still a little worried about that one possibly. We can see here, we have kind of highlighted it with our tools. So that's why we'll be watching for that to then move close to places like Montrose, possibly Nauvoo, Fort Madison eventually. So this storm here kind of looking to have two possible areas that we really need to be paying attention to. And then the warning does extend further over into McDonough County too. So you guys kind of need to be on the edge of your seat, just getting prepared in case you do need to head off towards your safe place. I'm not sure if we've had any other confirmations with this system. I know the radar not only is lighting up with lightning and thunder, but also some torrential rain that could possibly lead to some localized areas of flash flooding. Of course, you don't want to be out driving in the storm, but if you're caught in it, hopefully you can get pulled over and get inside somewhere, because first of all, you're under tornado warning, but second of all, you just really don't want to have to mess with those torrential rain as it can make it extremely difficult to see. But that warning again is going to continue for another 33 minutes, and it has been radar indicated. So far, we don't have anything confirmed yet, but we are looking at a pretty impressive, what we call couplet on our velocity radar. And then that storm we were watching earlier that is now north of the tri-state area, it continues to look pretty strong. So if you know anybody up into that area, please give them a text or give them a phone call to let them know. But I think Jesse now has an update.
I do have a report. This is from a couple minutes ago. This would have been along the Highway 61 corridor of a rotating wall cloud. And it looks to me like this report was probably, 5 or 6 miles west-southwest of Fort Madison.
All right. So we're just watching that now. It looks like we might have a little bit. Okay, so I see that wind damage there. And then what we're going to just continue to watch is this storm is actually now moving closer towards the radar site. So we're getting a little bit better of a sample of it, dare I say. And so that is going to be something that we need to definitely pay attention to. And then thankfully, Lee County right now, the storm that just moved outside of you and moved to the north of you, that is now well to the north of you, it looks like it did end up developing a pretty dangerous tornado with it. But for now, we're just going to keep a very close eye on Lee County, Hancock County, and then we'll wait to see if this continues to strengthen at all. And then overall, just for the tri-states in general, we'll continue to watch the radar, because with the sunshine that we have out there, that refuels the atmosphere and gets it ready for the next round of storms if they can develop. And we've already seen a few out there trying to redevelop. Jesse?
Got an update. So Clark County, you are now out of the warning. The warning has been canceled for Clark County as we expected. The latest update, so the rotation, not a reported tornado on the ground, but we did have that rotating wall cloud, and the rotation on radar is now over Fort Madison. So if you are in Fort Madison, you should be in your tornado shelter. This is continuing to move northeast at 40 miles per hour. So the hazard continues to be a tornado could occur occur at any time, and also up to a half-dollar size hail. And Dallas City, Denmark, Nyota, Pontusic, Sawyer, Fort Madison Municipal Airport, and up towards Spring Grove between now and 5:20, you are in the path of this storm, and then eventually that's also going to include the Lomax area between 5:20 and 5:25. So that is the latest update on the warning. It is continuing. No reports of anything confirmed yet, but again, that could happen at any time just looking at these radar signatures.
Yeah, and that's besides that circulation there, hail, of course, is also a real concern with this. And we've been looking at some of the hail, pretty big, pretty large, about an inch and a half, just close towards Argyle. That's going to move to the west of Montrose, but that is an impressive hail signature that we're getting with our what we call VIL product, and so that's something to be concerned about too. But we're really just going to continue to track this tornado warning as it moves through the tri-states, which right now is in Lee County, and kind of right now moving through the center of the county. So we'll watch for places like even West Point. You need to be in your safe place. The rotation is looking awfully close to you, and it is now almost due east of West Point and just further off towards the northwest of Fort Madison. We still see that rotation there, so we're going to continue with the warning. The National Weather Service obviously sees that too. That's why they have the warning out, and then we'll have to see how far to the right it tries to pull. But as of right now, it still continues to move further off towards the northeast. So after it passes West Point, that's when it starts to inch a little bit closer, unfortunately, to the Henry County border, where just a little bit ago, further off to the west, they had a pretty impressive tornado that ended up developing. So we're watching this move off towards the northeast. This warning continues for another 28 minutes, and we'll just watch it very closely to see what happens with the rotation. If it does end up moving more off towards the northeast and clears the area and moves into Henry County, and it doesn't end up turning right, we'll probably go ahead and wrap up our coverage at that point. But for now, we're just going to continue to watch to see what it does. So right now, it's kind of a waiting game. We wait for the radar to loop. We wait for the new velocity scans to come in, and that tells us really what to expect. And so right now, again, we're looking at that circulation just to the east of West Point, just off towards the northwest of Fort Madison. It is a little bit closer towards West Point, so that's why I want West Point to definitely be in your safe place as this passes overhead. And wow, just even looking at this radar here, the amount of lightning strikes on it's very impressive. So that's definitely not good either, because we know that lightning could strike trees or houses or anything like that. So that's another concern that we have for us. Quite the atmosphere that we have today. We were watching this for the potential. Oh, there you go. There's the lightning. You can hardly even see Lee County because there's so much of it. And this is kind of what we've been fearful of through the week. We saw how primed the atmosphere was going to be, very favorable for storms, and the other problem was that it's going to be favorable for quickly developing storms. So sometimes by the time the warning is issued, by the time the storm gets going, it's almost right on your doorstep. But we are trying to give you advance notice on this, as it is now passing just near the West Point area. Again, that is in Lee County, and looks like Jesse has an update.
Yeah, it looks like the National Weather Service just shared that the cell with the strongest rotation and large hail potentials should be right about the west side of Fort Madison right now. All of the webcams show that the wall cloud's becoming rain wrapped. What that means, of course, is that if a tornado does develop, you're not going to be able to see it once it becomes rain wrapped. That happens pretty frequently. So while there's not a report of a tornado on the ground at this time, that could happen at any moment. This is a pretty volatile environment. So right over the west side of Fort Madison right now is where that greatest concern is with that cell, based on the strong rotation, that wall cloud, and that becoming rain wrapped in its organization life cycle.
Also, to kind of build off on that, with the threat of large hail, okay, there's a quick look at our Keokuk tower cam. The tower cam is shaking. It's very windy there. Right now in downtown, not much rain at all, but that could very well change as this storm scrapes just off to the north of you. But I wanted to really mention the hail sizes. There was a tag for potentially very large hail across portions of just west of Fort Madison and moving into Fort Madison as this particular supercell moves over you. We're looking anywhere between 1 and 2 inches in diameter. That's severe severe level. Now, when we get to areas around like hen egg size hail, that goes from rare to very rare. It's something that we really don't see all that much. And keep in mind, the bigger the hailstones, the faster that they fall. Also, if you have any cattle outside, that could cause some serious injury, unfortunately even death, with particularly large and significant severe hailstones. I'm seeing right now on some of our radar scans, again, very strong signature of large hail about to move near or just over Fort Madison. Again, if we were to see hen egg size hail fall over your neck of the woods, they may fall at upwards of 40 to 60 miles per hour. And again, this storm itself is moving at around, I would say, 40, 45 miles per hour, right?
Yeah, and I'm just this last radar scan. So with this hail core, we're looking at an area, if I go from Charleston up to Highway 2, back over to US 61, that area just southwest of Fort Madison, that hail core is really spiked. So that's probably, let me put this into motion here, and it looks to me like that is aimed to probably affect the west side of the far western portions of Fort Madison. It may stay just west of the city and then move up towards the Denmark Weaver area if it holds together. But nonetheless, there is that hail threat for the Fort Madison area or just west of the Fort Madison area. And then also looking at the radar scan, what we call that velocity. So those wind speeds and that turning with height in that storm. There's also another couplet, a couple miles north of Montrose or just northwest of Nauvoo. And that's actually, I just got an update here. So that's strengthened. That's heading towards Fort Madison. So that's a new area rotation you can see on your screen now. That's going to head up back into the Fort Madison area. So we're under the gun. Again, it looks like we actually just got a tornado warning update here, and that's basically confirming what we're looking at. So that's going to continue moving off to the northeast. It's 5:20 now. So Weaver, Pontusic, Denmark, between now and 5:25, you're going to be in the path. And then if this holds together, that's another area of rotation that's going to move over Fort Madison. That one we were talking about a little earlier, that's moved off to the northeast up towards Weaver. But this new area of rotation just northwest of Nauvoo, it's right on the river, is actually going to move right up the river into Fort Madison. So again, based on this radar signature, you could have a tornado develop at any time with little or no warning. The tornado warning's already out, so you should definitely be in your tornado safe place. And then if that holds together, that again, that actually looks to affect areas along Illinois Route 9 up towards Pontusic and Dallas City, and then eventually Lomax, and then Weaver again, Weaver, Denmark area, that northern part of the circulation. So there's like two different circulations here with this storm that pose a threat to those in the warning area.
Yeah, I was looking at that rotation on the storm, the northern portion of it, and it looks like it has gotten a little tighter. So that would be this here that's north of West Point. That's a little bit of a concern for us, and we'll watch that kind of drifting a little bit closer towards the Henry County border, and then we'll watch the rotation on the southern portion of this, as Jesse just mentioned, as it could pass over places like Fort Madison. And then we've also just been trying to keep a general eye out throughout the entire area, because all of us are under a tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. Our atmosphere right now is very unstable, and with the sunshine that we're getting, that doesn't help. On severe weather days, you don't want the sunshine because it really just puts more fuel into the atmosphere for those storms to feed off of. So now we're watching for storms moving into places like Knox County and Shelby County. Right now, these are not severe. They have some downpours on them, a little bit of some lightning and thunder. But these are the storms that we'll have to start paying attention to next to see if they can tap into that instability, that fuel, to see if they could possibly start to get a little stronger. It looks like the one just to the north of Macon there is starting to intensify just a little bit. So if you're not getting the storms right now, that doesn't mean you're out of the woods. But when we look at a system like this, you can typically find the storms that have been developing and kind of draw this like diagonal line, and you can kind of get a good idea of where the next storms may be developing. We have one now near Edina, and then we'll watch to see that possibly move further up into Scotland and Clark County. But that's just something that we're watching. For now, the active tornado warning is for portions of Lee County and Hancock County. And the rotation on this system, we've noted that there's kind of two areas. The first one I want to talk about, it went right past West Point, but is now right on the border of Lee County and also Henry County. So pretty soon that's going to cross over completely into Henry County, and we won't have to worry about that rotation anymore, but we still have to watch the rotation on the southern portion of that storm, and to also note the fact that there's also quite a bit of hail in this bottom cell that we can see here, kind of just to the west of Fort Madison. So there's a lot of hail in there, lightning, thunder, heavy rain, and possibly even a little more rotation. And so if you are in places like Fort Madison, you will want to continue to keep a very close eye on that. Hang tight with us here as we follow this warning through the area. Right now, as I mentioned, everyone is under a tornado watch until 8 p.m. And I want to remind you that a watch means be prepared, be paying attention. And then a warning means take action, seek shelter. So the watch, the portion of the tri-states that needs to pay attention needs to do so until probably 8 o'clock tonight. And then those seeking shelter right now in Lee County, you need to be in your safe place right now. Kyle?
So I'm just looking at the past, 15, 30 minutes of these storms across Lee County, Iowa. And I'm also seeing some, projections as to where these will go. Fortunately, Hancock County looks like they're going to miss the brunt of everything. Still, of course, if you're under that, red shaded box, please take it seriously. But over the next, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, all of this should begin to lift north of the viewing area and out of our way. But as Whitney has just been mentioning, we do have another line of potentially what could end up becoming bona fide showers and storms, some of which, yes, still have the opportunity to turn particularly severe. So if there are any more, severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings, we will do as much as we can to keep you up to date. Also, if you're now just tuning in to us here at WGEM, we have a free WGEM First Alert weather app that we've been updating all day, and we'll continue to do so through this evening and into the overnight to basically, keep you as safe as possible, keep your loved ones as safe as possible through this developing situation. But again, for the time being, we still have a tornado warning across central and northeastern Lee County, Iowa, as well as the far northwestern tip of Hancock County in Illinois, still in effect through 5:45 this afternoon. So we got about 19 more minutes until it either expires or gets extended away from our viewing area.
If you are in the Nyota area, though, you are still in the path of the rotation, and that means barely Hancock County. The rotation looks like it's right on the river, actually moving into the Fort Madison area right now. So I would say that the Nyota area, there is still that threat, although, like you said, it won't be long before that trucks off to the northeast, and then that gets back into Lee County, Iowa. That may skirt just to the north of Dallas City and Lomax based on the current trajectory, and stay mostly in southeastern Lee County over towards the Weaver area, and then it's not going to be, maybe in the next 10 or 15 minutes, that's going to pass into southern Des Moines County up towards the Burlington area and put it out of our viewing area.
I was watching one of our radar products that shows us where the hail is, and the hail associated with the storm that is right near Fort Madison has dropped a bit. So that means that some of you in that area may have experienced a little bit of a burst of hail as we watched that really drop off pretty quick. And then the storm that's on the northern portion of this little warning, that one has grown upscale with the hail. And so not only are we still looking at the rotation with that, but we're now also seeing some significant hail in there, possibly up to about 1.5 inches. So I think that'd be about golf ball size, possibly ping pong ball size. And so that's something that we're noting on the radar. But when it comes to the actual rotation, when we look at our velocity product, we're looking at the rotation of this northern piece gradually continuing to move more and more into Henry County. That will gradually move out of the tri-states, and we won't have to really worry about it too much longer. But I am still concerned about the little far portion of this storm here that continues to show a little bit of some strength in there, a little bit of rotation, but we did see that hail in there, which the hail core looked to drop a little bit. So that tells me that someone in that area ended up seeing some decent sized hail. After the storm passes you, after we tell you that you're good to go, you can always adventure out to see if you can see any lingering hail on the ground. around or see if there's been anything kind of tousled around. But as long as you are inside this polygon, we need you in your safe place. Jesse?
Okay, we do have the National Weather Service relaying that there's been a funnel cloud reported near Augusta, Iowa. That's on the Des Moines-Lee County border. That just came in. So that would be with that area of circulation you were referencing a little bit. Kyle's going to zoom in on that a little bit. So that's the Augusta, Iowa, the Des Moines-Lee County border area. And that's actually, my guess is that's up near where that one of those hail spikes was. And back on the hail thing, the Denmark, Augusta area is where the largest hail is going to be right now, but that funnel cloud report's up there on the county line between the two counties. Nothing reported on the ground, but they do have a report of a funnel cloud in that area. We did get an update to the warning. So right now, the tornadic circulation would be over the Welter Recreation Area. That's 8 miles southwest of Burlington, so that's right on that county line. And that's moving northeast at 40 miles per hour still. So far northern Lee County, that portion of the storm still poses a risk just for a short while longer. And then we want to keep an eye on that other area of circulation down near Fort Madison. And it looks like that hail core